pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as is required by Chapter 231 Public Law 1975. With respect to the Home News Tribune, published the same. This announcement was the evidence for minutes of the meeting. Today's meeting will be recorded by a voice. Roll call. You want to do the roll call?
Is Maria coming?
No, I'll do the roll call. Commissioner Engel?
Here.
Commissioner Katz? Here. Commissioner Franklin? Present. Commissioner Moskowitz?
On the way.
Coming. Yeah, we're going.
The purpose of the meeting is to look at the balance.
Yes. Okay, so we have some local commissioners here. I can read them by category for you.
Okay.
Bearer exceeded limit, no balloting closed, moved within county, so they were being issued a new ballot for their location.
So they've got a new ballot, and you
That's
obviously got
right,
that.
so when we make the address change, the county clerk is supposed to get notification and send out the new ballot.
Okay.
Okay, registered out of county, we have some ballots that were already received, meaning the duplicate went out. So when they moved, they sent the first one in, when they changed their address, a duplicate ballot went out to the voter. So we did not accept these ballots here.
Okay.
So if they already sent it back, we already saw the certs.
Okay.
Hope for Commissioner need ID. We have one where the voter refused to vote. He wrote it on his certification that he wanted to go to the polls. We have a voter that they caught where they voted 2 ballots.
So we rejected which one are we rejecting? First or the second?
Well, they
The
have
second one
them.
that we received.
They have them both here, so they sent them in together on the same day.
And we received them at the
They
same
received
time?
2 because of the fact that the voter was in the system twice. So they had to merge them, and, but they got both ballots and voted them and sent them back.
And we got them the same, that was they are the same day, right?
Yes,
The
with-
same batch?
Yes, with 2 voter numbers, but again, it was merged. So once they saw that it was 2 different numbers, they had to merge it.
Right, but that's in the system, but we still haven't voted, we haven't accepted 3 ballots from that voter.
No, we did not.
Okay.
We're not going to accept both ballots.
No, we're not going to accept both ballots, but we have both ballots here.
Right.
So we should make sure we accept one. If it was on different days, it could question which one we do. If it's the same simultaneously, it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It does not matter, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do the others in batch. We'll talk about that when it's just maybe something.
Okay. Certificate missing. Bearer did not sign bearer portion. Bearer signed at the Board of Elections, and we have incomplete bearer portion. And then I also have a ballot here that, which we
Before you do,
found.
there's two
Okay.
odd ones now, is that it?
Well,
Yeah,
let's
it's
move,
these
on all of the other
Right.
categories that you mentioned, I move that we reject them.
Second.
Roll call. Roll call, Tom.
Commissioner Engel?
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin? Yes. Commissioner Katz?
Yes?
Commissioner Moskowitz? Yes.
Here.
Note that Commissioner Moskowitz prepared to do all.
So sorry.
No problem. All we did was reject the bulk ballots.
Okay.
There's a few other, there's 2
The
other.
ones that we've done, the way, the manner in which we've done it
Same way.
previously.
Okay.
So we have a ballot here. One of our seasonals, I guess, brought in a ballot for her father, and she was the bearer for them. But she dropped it in the drop box. We didn't know until we started pulling the ballots out to receive them, and we noticed that, I guess, the father signed in the bearer portion, but she signed next to it, saying that she was the bearer for him.
Did she put it in the Dropbox?
And she put it in the Dropbox.
Correct.
Okay.
What about the rest of the things?
So
Where is the rest of it?
we just want to know what to do because it's both, it's his signature here and she.
No, we should accept that. We-
Okay.
My understanding is if there's a bureau section filled out and it's put in the Dropbox, we would count it and accept it, except it exceeds the number of
Okay.
bureaus.
And everything else is filled out properly?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
then,
accept that one.
Okay.
Right? You all agree?
Okay. Thank you.
So we have to talk about the two ballots, right?
These
So
are the two.
we should accept one. Remind me what we do when we get one day and one 2 or 3 days later. Do we accept the second one if we haven't booked anything?
Well, we try to look for the ballot, but a lot of times the certification is already torn
Or
off.
then we've accepted the
So
one?
we've already accepted one. That's why we have here ballots already received, because we've already accepted
Okay.
one ballot.
Wow.
But we just so happened to see that it was the same day.
Okay, so
Now,
we've
is
done,
there a poll clock on those two?
Yes, it was October 2nd, same day.
Is there a
So-
timestamp?
What about the time? Is there a time stamp?
Same day as well, same time, actually.
Wow.
So they might not have, they've gotten the two, it's two different numbers. They might not have known why they've gotten the two, but that was the reason, because they were in the system twice.
Did you merge them already?
Yes, I can double check, but if we did not, we will be merging them,
Yeah.
and we
Okay.
have to keep the original number. So that would be the one that we would accept, would be the original number.
oh, okay, because that was, that I don't have the issue. Okay, then, do you need a motion for us as to which to accept that?
Well, you can just, let us know to accept the original voter
Okay, I
number.
move that we accept the ballot from the voter with the original number.
Okay.
I thought we already accepted it.
It's a question of which one you accepted.
I thought we did already accept one.
No,
Well,
we didn't accept
one.
anything yet because we had it to the side for hope for commissioner.
They set aside.
Okay, I got that part, I just misunderstood the original statement.
Yeah,
I thought that one had come in and said, yes, and here's the second thing. Okay.
Not for this
Okay,
situation.
thank you.
Mhm.
so we need to vote on it.
We got a second your.
Yes, I'll second it
Okay.
now, thank you.
Roll call?
Roll call.
Mr. Roll call.
Yeah.
Yes, to accept.
Chairman Engel,
Yes, to accept.
Commissioner
Yes,
Cast,
to accept.
Mr. Franklin, Commissioner Katz,
Yes, good.
Commissioner Moskowitz.
Yes, to accept.
Okay, that's what you got it?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Commissioner comments?
But we do have guests here.
I know, but that comes after.
That's
After
afterwards.
we- According to the agenda.
That's fine.
No comments?
I would withhold till
The end
say
of the meeting?
another meeting right now.
Okay. Public comments?
Yeah, I'm Junior Iglesias, I'm one of the candidates for Perth-Amboy City Council. I'm just trying to know if the commission have any numbers of ballots that you have counted already for Perth-Amboy so far in the election?
Just what we had on the first website on election night. at this point.
That's all you have counted as of right now?
We will have another batch that'll be put up on the website this evening.
Do you know the size of that batch, like how many ballots?
We're not over at the college right now, so I don't know what the size is right now.
And the county clerk gives out the results.
Can I, let me explain part of it. You're going to have vote totals every few, additional changes every few days. The reason for that is every ballot has to be processed individually. Signature check, all of the rest of the stuff. That takes a lot longer than pulling the ballot out of the unit. So it's up to a certain point, we were doing lower back, and then whatever was processed, so we could do the other ones, we had people in, and we were pulling them, and those were batched. We have tallies get the tabulators on the machine that are tabulated, and we use that. But that's not every day, because it takes longer to do that. So since election day, we've had processors, we have people checking ballots individually here and at the county college. If you noticed, there was not much places to park in the parking lot.
Right.
That represents people that are here working on that. So we've been doing it for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and whatever we could today. Those ballots have been opened, the inner envelopes have been opened, and they've been put through the tabulator. That's the numbers, the additional numbers that you will see later today.
And you don't know exactly what is the number, right? So,
Not
Not
specifically
yet,
for
not
your,
at this moment.
And that's going
City,
to,
that's the
that's going
problem.
to, that's the same thing is going to happen for a few days. And next day, we're going to have them counted, Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
we have the approximate ballots that have come in perhaps, but certainly not split yet. Because of the process that was just explained, people do not understand the very real time for every ballot.
have there been any ballot rejected so far from part-time board?
I'm sorry, sir.
Any ballot rejected?
We've just rejected, we have rejected some ballots for certain reasons, yes.
Okay, do we have a number for that or no? Like how many ballots have we?
Well, these rejections were not by municipality.
Oh, okay.
Not by Perth Amboy, these are, right, the entire county.
They may have, these are, which may have come throughout the county, which could include ballots.
So you put it all the, just Middlesex all together?
As you hear, we vote and hear the information based on the ballot, not from where it came. So I don't know whether afterward there ever is a process, I don't think so. Again, we just check
Well,
the
there will,
validity of the ballot and to base it on a town really.
they will be once
Who
all
does?
of the ballots are, received and counted and everything, then we go back and take all the ballots that were held for commissioners and rejected, and then we have to post them into the system
Okay.
individually.
Thanks.
Todd, you had a revised schedule. I think you said in your email, you said you sent it to the Perth Amboy candidates. Did you get yesterday, the day before? If you look at that, you'll see the dates. It says they've been retabulated. There's different dates through November 20th.
Is there any possible way that we can find that number or no? How many ballots have we rejected? Is that possible?
I haven't started that yet. I don't usually start them until after we certify, because it's a process to it. And then I have to take them and reject them manually. So by category, then I take them out, then I have to go into the system and then change the status to rejected.
Is there any way, like, we can get together physically and take a look or no? Is that allowed?
Normally they do that when they challenge, where they want to look at the ballots and then they want to see what was held for commissioner.
Right.
And then they will challenge it, fill out the form, and have it attached to it. Well, we've already passed that stage for it.
Don't we still have challenge dates, correct?
For
No?
For next.
provisionals, I think.
Provisional, thanks. Right.
Provisionals, okay.
So I'm
Yes,
Linda
ma'am.
Diaz, I'm the mayor of the city of Perth Amboy. So I just want to be able to get some clarity, because it just seems that the numbers don't coincide. So the numbers that was reported by the county were 13,658 ballots were received. So it's come to our attention how many ballots were counted.
Well, reported on the Middlesex County Clerk Office about 8,400 approximately so far. Total, right.
Right. So, so there's a discrepancy, right? So there's this balance, you guys report that this is how many ballots you received. I'm hoping that they don't reject almost 5,000 ballots. We know that, right? But when do you anticipate that the rest of the ballots, those numbers are going to be, the rest of the ballots?
If people vote as provisional, is that in that count?
No,
that's
no,
only vote by
this-
mail.
This is solely
It's not by mail.
vote by mail ballots received by the county.
Well, part of that number is, mail-in ballots since election day. So we went from 300,000 ballots countywide
Right.
received on election day to we're probably around 340. And that's reflective of the drop boxes and the mail ballots that came through the mail. And we're starting to receive now the mail ballots that came in the polling location. So that number has grown. And that's reflected in terms of the received that you see for Perth Amboy. So, but I think tonight, for Zambo, you'll see a reflected number of an increase of number of ballots. I think you're, you know, it won't be one for one where the $13,000
Right.
received will equal the number of votes, because, you know, some will be rejected, or some are cure letters, they're still waiting for it to be reflected. But I think as we go through today and Tuesday,
Right.
you'll see that that gap narrow considerably. So I think with confidence, you can say, by at least maybe by the next Tuesday, in terms of that, you'll see it pretty much as close as you would like in terms of total number of ballots cast and received.
All right, so let's go back. So 13,069 ballots were received and reported by the county. So part of that, so let's assume they counted for birthday envoy, I think it was 8,000 ballots, right? So then you have to subtract, I guess what's not added in there is what was rejected or what was cured. Am I correct to say that?
Or it just hasn't been processed yet to that point.
If it was, just so you know, any of the helper commissioners, it's in as received, just so you know. It's just not showing that it was rejected yet, but it
Can I
is in the
say something?
received.
Correct me if I'm wrong with the numbers, okay? As of election day, we counted about 210,000 ballots,
216,000.
216,000, but we had received about 300,000.
Right,
So
that's a
it's
better way to
roughly-
explain it.
That was roughly two-thirds of the ballots that we received were counted to that point, which is not exactly what numbers you saw per county, but not too far off. So am I keeping this
Yeah,
right?
that's close.
So it's not an aberration, it's not necessarily an aberration versus countywide for county.
All right, so,
I hope that, I'm sorry, man. That, you understand that, we're having a roundup in Trenton Boy, and we want, that's why we're pressing so hard to get as much information as possible.
Unfortunately, to the extent anything is close, we're not going to get this finished until November 20th, because we can't start counting the provisional ballots until every vote by mail ballot has been processed, because if the voter sent in a vote by mail ballot, we don't count the provisional ballot because we only want people to vote once. And pursuant to the law and the governor's executive order, vote by mail ballots can come in through 7 days after the election, through November 10th. Therefore, we can't start counting the provisional ballots, and we really can't fully process them, until after November 10th. Right? So we can't start them, and I don't know what the numbers were. Do we have a rough idea of how many provisional ballots there were? Or is that not in there?
For Amboy, there was 2,693, and mail-in ballots at the polling location, 411.
Also pursuant to the law, we can't release provisional ballot numbers for one town until we do it for all municipalities. I'm not sure what it is, but that's what the provision is. So you're not going to have a final number until November 20th. By the way, as I said, is there anything I say that's more?
Well, that's a certification. I think
We have to finish
I think
it.
we understand
They'll
how
have
important
closer
Amboy is,
numbers.
and I think we understand that. So as soon as we can and count and make sure that we do that, Amboy obviously is first on our list to do. And if we're allowed to release those numbers as an unofficial number, we will release those numbers.
May I ask the question, excuse me, Mayor? The numbers that we have will go to the county to put them on the
We
board,
don't-
correct? Because we do not put them on the board.
We're not, so I think I've told you this before.
Yes.
We cannot
I'm
give-
sorry, I didn't mean to, I wanted to know for my own.
We cannot give you those.
Clarification.
Our task here is not to give you the numbers. That's the county clerk's office. We can only tell you that they've been processed, they have been counted, that's our job. Unfortunately, you'll see a county clerk here usually at the end of that time period. they will be here because they're the only ones who officially can give you what they're going to be certified. So we can't give you those numbers.
No, listen, I get it. The only thing is the discrepancy. You know, you can't have reported 13,000 ballots that were mailed in, and yet only have 8,000, whatever the list was, and then you had 347. What happened with those other 5,000 ballots? Where are they? That's the question I have for you.
That's the difference between, part of the difference between as of election day, because all the those are numbers that basically that we had as of election
Are
day. But as of election day, we had 300,000 ballots that were received.
Right.
So you should see that, that should be another, I don't know, separate number, by town, but 300,000 ballots that were received with 216,000 counted, processed, that show up on the website. So roughly 2/3 of the ballots that were counted through and including election day, roughly 2/3 of the ballots that were marked as received by election day were counted by election day, and that's what's posted. So you only had, on average, slightly more than 2/3 of the ballots that were received counted as of election day. So 2/3 of $13,000.
Even this evening, when
Right,
you're-
but if you have 13,000 ballots, right? Let's assume that, 13,000 ballots. Let's do the math.
2/3 of 13,000 is a little over 8,000.
Right, so when is those other 5,000 ballots going to be counted? That's what my question
You will have
is.
an upload to this tonight, which might be another 20 or 25%.
Maybe.
Okay, maybe.
That's it, really?
Mhm.
I'm just giving it.
Because I need to understand the numbers. I was a banker, that's why I'm
Okay,
trying
so
to
you're gonna have that tonight, and then you'll have a bigger chunk on Tuesday, which will be uploaded, and we would hope, with our people doing the work, that the majority of those, in your case, the 5,000 that are outstanding,
Right.
should be mostly, or a 90% pile, 95, I'm not giving you a round figure, but the majority of those ballots should be counted by next Tuesday night.
And Commissioner, and I appreciate all the great work that you guys are doing. And, you know, what we urge is to try your best to speed up the process so that we can get just results, you know, as soon as
We
possible.
understand.
I know, you know what, I just said that, so we're gonna have a president elected before the mayor of Perth Amboy. You know, I just don't get it, you know? We are gonna have a United States presidential election, and here we have a local election that we have to go into a runoff, and that's going to be, and here we are still waiting for 5,000 ballots to be counted that came in before November 3rd. Because I'm going based on your report. You see, this is what we did. We looked at the reports, what you had submitted, what was up on the website, and we went based on that report. And that's why we're here today.
That's why I tried to explain.
No, I get it.
It's not different. Per family is not necessarily different from all the other countries. As an election day, I mean,
I get it.
for these purposes, as of election day, roughly 2/3 of the ballots that were marked received were counted, roughly. I posted on the website. 300,000 were received, marked as received by election day.
Right.
Of those 300,000, 216,000 were processed, and they were physically open and tabulated. So the county-wide results, as of the numbers that were reported Tuesday night on the county clerk website, included 216,000 of the 300,000 votes. So for Perth Amboy, you're telling me, I didn't look at it, about 8,000 of the 13,000.
That's a number.
Right.
It's a real number.
Which is approximately the same percentage as the rest of the county, maybe slightly, whatever.
Okay, so what happens, again, those rejected ballots, do the residents, are they informed so that they can cure it for any reason? I know that they have the cure for the signature, because I saw that list, and we didn't have that many people on that report versus some of the other towns. So,
There are multiple reasons for curing, just
Okay.
by signature.
okay,
Okay, they get a cure letter for, not just for signature.
oh, all right.
But once a ballot is rejected, it's rejected.
It's
That was the
cure
question.
letter
Is that not
The cure letter
correct?
is for discrepancy in signature and unsigning,
Right.
and not signing.
Right, not
That's what
signing.
it's for.
It's not just
He
first
asked
grade, I'm
about
just
rejected ballots, and once they're rejected, there is no letter.
You were
that
here,
goes
were
in.
you here during, you
No, I
came
was
and announced that Shalonda gave us the categories of things that were rejected. There were ballots. if
And
you were here,
again, once
I
they're
don't remember.
rejected, they are rejected.
Yes, those are not, there's no pure letters sent out for those. The pure letters are sent out if there's a discrepancy in the signature or if there's no signature. If they didn't enclose a ballot, or if they
The
were, a
certificate
bearer
is
didn't
missing.
sign it and they came in here, or they brought in more ballots than they were supposed to, or any number of other reasons, those are rejected, there's no pure letters.
Commissioner, I understand that after a ballot is rejected, it's rejected. It's no, after it's done, right? But are voters going to be notified that the ballot was rejected so that they will have an opportunity maybe future times to understand that, you know, they made an error and because of that, their vote didn't count, so they can correct that and make it right next time. So that way, you know, we can have less of those ballots rejected.
They can see their status online.
Online,
A lot of the
that's nice.
voters, and then when they call us, once we have it in, then we'll let them know the reason, but we do not send out a letter to each person
Of
telling them
rejection.
you forgot to vote your ballot, or we have voters that never even send in their certifications, or if a bearer walks in and they're signing in front of us, we have instructions there that are given to them. So we don't send, voters letters like that.
But they can
But
call.
they can call, find out, and then we'll give them the reason.
I understand, but you know, I think that most voters will believe that their vote will count it. So I'm just asking the commission if it's possible that, you know, I know this is not a practice, but is it possible that, you know, the commission can consider notifying the voters so that they will have an opportunity to understand that there was a mistake made and that they will have a chance to reflect on that, and for future elections, they will not make the same mistake.
Well, we appreciate that, and I'm not trying to say, but we'll take it under consideration, okay?
Thank you,
And
Commissioner.
there in certain instances, some things we're not permitted to
And you
advise
have that,
people.
you know what, and Junior has right. You know why, this is so new to so many people, right?
Correct.
The voting by ballot. Perth Amboy historically is mostly by machine. So the residents, for the most part, were so used to going to the machines, right? And I can see where there would be maybe some deficiency, but I think they have the right to know, what was the problem, so that they themselves in the future will have an opportunity to take corrective action and at least be alert, hey, that this is what's happening. And I'll tell you right now, if I was some of the voters, now that they were forced to have to be voting by ballot, I would be extremely upset knowing that my vote was not accepted. Now that they had no other option unless they were on disability, that now they have to vote by ballot. The residents have the right to know that if their ballots weren't accepted, because that way, the next time around that they have to vote ballot, which is going to happen soon, I know Perth Amboy residents would like to know, were their ballots accepted and why weren't they accepted? So that everybody, they would know.
To check the site.
Yeah, but
Because there's, to track your ballot specifically,
We
not
all
just
have
to
personal
permit.
views of whether this should have been, and the runoff should be essentially all vote by mail ballot. That's personal views, that's not a board view, et cetera. But one negative of an all vote by mail ballot is you have a lot more voters end up being disenfranchised because they don't complete something right. Statewide in the primary election, 2.8% of the ballots were rejected in the primary. I don't know what the number was here, but it's statewide 2.8%. If this were the same percentage on this election and we had 400,000 ballots, that would be almost 10 or 11,000 people votes that were rejected because it was a vote by mail ballot versus if they walked in the machine to vote.
and you have to understand my point of view,
Right.
our point of view. Because when you report that this many people voted by mail and they look at the overall figure for the Middlesex County and the state of New Jersey, They go by the chunk of ballots that said were submitted and that was accepted. They don't come back and say, by the way, on the state of New Jersey, these were how many were rejected, this is the true number. That's a problem.
The number that you rejected was rejected as received.
Right, and that's the number they use to report that all these people voted.
When we reject them, this gets reported to the county clerk also, so she has to report it to the state. So everything gets reported.
Right, but the point is that the figure that they use is not the rejection figure. They use, the one that they report is what they accepted, not the rejected figure.
The only thing that I would say for the record, commissioners, is that you have the power to reduce that number of rejected ballots by simply notifying voters. I think giving more information, an educational piece, if you would like to put it that way, as to how you cannot make this type of errors, because we have to follow the law, and if the law says you have to put a date here and you put a date here, that ballot would be rejected. But if everyone understands, especially those voters that already make that mistake already, that look, if you don't put the date on this ballot, your ballot will be rejected, right, as hypothetically speaking. They will not forget to put that date there, because they will know that if they don't put it, if they don't put the date, it will be rejected.
My only suggestion to you for what we're going through now and what we're going through, most likely to appear through a runoff, okay, is that we were pushing a lot of the voters, not just Perth Amboy, but the county voters, to the Middlesex County website, Vote 2020.
Okay.
There was a lot of information on Vote 2020 on how to vote. There were tutorials. There was how to fill those things out. So you're asking us to do a lot of things, and I'm not saying I don't disagree with you. I'm saying if you're going to be involved in a runoff, or whatever you're going to be, which I assume you are, okay, that information that's on there was what the county felt and what we felt, as much as we could, to get as much information out to all of the voters of Middlesex County as possible. So when you're thinking about that, okay, it'd be really important to have your people, or your supporters, or whatever you're trying to do, is to look at that website, because the information there is tremendous. Much better than we can do, except for doing something that you're asking us for, which I don't know if we're going to be able to do that before you have another runoff election.
And also,
So just a bit of information.
No, and I agree, and I found those videos very, very helpful. I was sharing it myself. I tried to educate as many voters as possible. I just tried to collaborate how we can work together to make this better to all voters.
and also, it's not clear to me that we're permitted to go back to release this information.
We have to, he's asking us to research. We're gonna, I said, we're gonna look at things, and then we're gonna have to.
It's not
And
clear
I'm
to me
sure
that
that
we're permitted
we
to.
wouldn't have even known this. We would have not even known this if it had not been, like, we were tracking, whatever you send us, we read it. You're the ones that have the information, so we follow whatever your guidance is, and your numbers. So when we started seeing the numbers come in, such a difference from 13,000 to 8,000, and the numbers just dribbling, we start questioning. We're like, where are all these other ballots? 5,000 ballots are out there and unaccounted for. And I just want to make sure that our city, the residents of the city of Perth Amboy, regardless, you had a lot of candidates. This is not only about Wilberton, this is about everybody. This is about every voter in the city of Perth Amboy that, they took the time to cast whoever they cast their vote for. The fact of the matter is that we want to make sure that those 5,000 ballots that are out there, that's one way or the other, that we find, that is accurately reported, and that if they're rejected, that I think as a community, we have the right to know, what is that number? And that's it. I just want to thank you. I know this is really a trying time for all of us, right? So I just want to thank you.
I know you're going through a lot, so many vote by mail, and this is a learning experience for everyone, so thank you for it.
Thank you so much.
Unless,
Thank you.
is it correct, which is I thought it was, that we cannot release any provisional ballot numbers until we release all of them? That's correct, right?
Yeah, the provisionals, we know it's going to take time. It's the mail ballots that we're questioning, because that is a difference. You can't have 13,000 out there reported by you that you received, and yet only, not even 9,000 have been.
What we should have said is that
Okay.
roughly 2/3 of the ballots that were marked received countywide were counted as of election night.
But again, none of that, 2/3, could be from Amboy, because we don't pull it out, we pull out.
2013.
I get that, but there was, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What if the percentage doesn't come out? We don't sit and say, let's send all of these. We should have, because we should have gone with the municipalities and cities, of course, that had any kind of contested election. That should be our first priority. I understand that too.
Yeah, and like I said, $5,000 are out there, you know,
Absolutely.
and eventually we need to know where these $5,000 are, right? And to make sure that they're counted.
Makes-
All right, thank you. Again, thank you.
Wake up's a little easier.
Okay, thank you.
Charlie, did you want to speak?
Yes, please. Good evening, members of the board. Charles Cradaville, New Brunswick today. I did want to ask about Election Day, and I was kind of expecting there to be some sort of report back on how it went. Could perhaps Mr. Lynch tell me if there were any polling places with issues with either equipment or operating hours, or were there lines at any of the places? I know it was
I'm gonna
quiet
say,
in Brunswick.
Tom, do you want to address that, please?
yeah, I'm gonna say, actually, in terms of, feedback in terms of polling locations, I didn't get one poll in terms of the polling location not being open on time, or the room being set up on the election, or you didn't at least with the election supplies. Reports of lines, usually they're at the beginning of the day in some polling locations, as people kind of lined up to get ready, but throughout the day, I didn't get a report from a single polling location that had lines out the door. I think the flow of the people coming in and leaving in terms of provisional worked very well. And in terms of poll workers, I mean, there's usually a smattering of complaints or issues, but nothing that warranted, particularly good, but nothing widespread that needed the addressing of staff or anything like that. So it's some isolated cases to address. And unfortunately, there are always cases post-election in terms of poll workers who don't adhere to it. But by and large, I think election day itself was a success. It worked out very well for the residents and those of the county.
We have a regular Board of Elections meeting in the beginning of December.
First Thursday.
Yeah. This was primarily intended to be for
For the ballot, sorry.
for the ballot, so we don't have necessarily full reports at this point. So we're adding, we have public elected officials or otherwise that have questions to the extent that we can answer, we want to be able to answer.
Great. And so I did want to ask about the operation at the county college. I want to thank the board for allowing the press to be there and observing what's going on. Is that site still being used, and what's the schedule for going forward with that operation?
It will be used from now until we finish the election, and also most likely for the first Temporary office.
Well, that's good. That we'll have it still. Good.
Yeah, and so in terms of schedule, we can share on, but there'll be almost like you wouldn't before. There'll be a day where people are opening ballots and getting them prepped, and then another day for tabulation. Tabulation days are Tuesday and Friday of next week, and then as needed in the following week until we certify the election.
And may I just add, Mr. Credible, the reason I was so pleased that we had the larger site is because of the health issues. People are able to they don't have to be right on top of each other. So it's not just the huge numbers, but the safety issues as well.
Right on. And I understand that. So just to be clear, tabulations are 9 a.m. on those days?
Each of the activities start at 9 a.m.
Okay.
And so the tabulation itself may not start at 9 a.m. because, another good thing to report is that the tabulators that we procured for the election have been working out very well. We've been able, for the ballots that have been made ready, the vendor and the machines have been able to go through fairly quickly. So the tabulation itself doesn't need to start at the same time the ballots are being opened. They usually come a couple hours afterwards.
Yeah, I think today we started pulling ballots at 9 and they started tabulating it.
They started tabulating at noon today.
Yeah.
As is the case.
It's a lot faster. Different spots. The original processing of the ballots, each individual one, signatures, checking everything else in, is slower, is at one level. The pulling the ballots is faster. The tabulating the ballots, running through the machine is even faster. So the timing of each of them and the necessity each is less and less to make to
Understood. I did want to ask about the voting machines. I know there's probably a limited number of people that use them, or were there any issues with the new machines or like, performance?
I had no
Another thing that worked out well was the machines. We had the phone calls going into our office for those who were disabled, looked them up if they voted mail on ballot, and by and large, we didn't encounter.
There was no
issues.
challenge, right, to any of the, there was no need for challenge on any of them.
I can't speak to whether or not any people were challenged on machines in particular.
I mean, you would have heard that though, right? Somebody would have.
Well, it would have come back in the election, the election reports we get back from municipalities, but I don't have any first-hand knowledge of
Yeah,
anyone
nor.
challenged on the machine. But again, it would be in the poll material that we get back after the election to kind of work with them.
On a practical basis, over the years, there are very few formal challenges on election day polling place, on average. And when you had merely a handful of people voting on machines, it's even very much less likely that you had any challenges. We don't know, but I don't.
Sure. And so just going forward in terms of the next meeting date, the next date when you'll be rejecting ballots and so forth is a week from today, 4 p.m.
I think are we coming in on Tuesday? What do we have, Tuesday? That's Friday?
Friday.
And you're correct on that.
Okay, so Friday will be the next one, and I'm glad Perth Amboy came up. I did want to ask about the timeline for that. I know the governor did an executive order, so the runoff would be pushed back 1 week to December 15, and I wanted some clarity on which polling places will be used on that date, and also the timeline for the counting and certifying of the election. I'm not sure how it normally works, but I'm pretty sure the winners would have to take office in January, right?
Working backwards, and again, just going off the memory, with certifications the 30th and the governor's executive order. The polling locations within the executive order says that to best extent, you can't use less than what you use
Correct.
in the general
Correct.
numbers now.
I read that.
And again, ideally, it also provided that you use a school, that the school would be closed on that particular day for virtual instructions for the ability to have that as a polling location. I think the only location that we need to circle in with the clerk's office, the penalty for Danboy would be the community center. Because again, just to make sure that that is available. But I think the goal of the governor's office was to make it as mirror the general election to the best extent possible, so that, quite frankly, that we don't have to do additional steps to get the election off the ground.
Sure. However, the certification timeline is a little tighter, right? So
that would be the clerk's office. Well, in terms of this election, what the clerk has to do, but again, that would address that with the clerk in terms of their timeline. It's built into the executive order, their timeline.
Understood.
We have to administer the election based on the rules, which is Title 19 with the strong overlay of the governor's executive order. The governor's executive order is what we have to follow, whether to all of the times. And then to the extent it's not covered by that, then we're governed by the election on Title 19. And that's what we have to do.
Understood. Well, thank you all for your service, and thank you to all the workers who made this possible. I know it was quite an undertaking, and it's been nice to get to see some of it from
To change
up
it
close.
to our making this possible.
Right, still going on.
Yes.
Well, thank you all for your work, enjoy your weekend.
Commissioner, if I may, just one more question before we end the session. I'm a candidate for City Council in Perth Amboy, and I was looking at the report, the numbers that have been reported on the website, and I noticed that the way the percentage is being reported, for Perth Amboy, there are two contested seats, two council candidates would be elected, right, on election day. So when the voter goes to the poll and vote, right, they have to pick two candidates. Up to two. For the percentages purposes, the vote is count two. The person counts two. So I wonder if that's accurate. We're running as in a slate, and
county clerk,
What was the
it's the
question?
county clerk's program, right? And it's always been, to some extent, a little odd in terms of the percentages they're out, because there are other offices, like the state assembly, which is two candidates, et cetera, and when they break down the percentages, they add all the numbers, and they add the total numbers cast for that office, and then whack it up based on each person. So even if a candidate has received more than 50% of the people voted for that candidate, let's say 50% even, but there are 4 candidates, and they each receive 50%, half the voters voted for them, it's still going to reflect in the county clerk's website, it's 25% each. That's the county clerk's program. And considering that in terms of a runoff, you need to get 50% plus 1, not to have a runoff, I understand that. But it's their program, and is it a little, I won't say wacky, I wouldn't think.
Don, it's not in our purview, it's at the
It's
county
not in
clerk.
our purview, it's the
That's-
county clerk.
I just want to make you aware that the way the percentage is being counted,
Yeah, but you need to talk to the county clerk. I'm sorry, that's a county clerk issue.
okay, no problem. I go ahead and, thank you so much.
If after we can close our meeting, you have any questions you want to ask personally, individually, I'm
Thank you
happy
so
to
much.
answer anything that I can answer, not on behalf of the board, but me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, I
Thank you.
appreciate this. Have a great weekend.
We can.
Anybody else? Commissioners' comments?
I will probably put into the record more than once the excellence that we had in terms of service working out. Once we got the numbers so complete, I thought the staff worked really well, as did the seasonals and whomever we were able to get to fill out. That's what I've been hearing. Thank you.
I don't have anything. There'll probably be things to talk about at our regular meeting in December after all this is certified. And,
I would agree, I have one comment for
Yeah.
you.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Second. Second.
Roll call.
Roll call. Mr. Lynch?
You're a bad secretary.
I am awful at this, don't let me do this again.
Yes.
Chairwoman
Can you notice the sense of tension underlying this
Yes,
meeting?
just finish, yes, yes.
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 Thank you.
Let the record reflect that all commissioners voted unanimously to close the meeting.
We're going to fire you, tell them.